This is not about nursing. I know people are only talking about nursing. Well, how are you supposed to become a nurse? How are you supposed to do anything that's not those, like, what, 10 degrees that were listed? What's up, y'all? I'm back. I haven't been on here in about a month, but I saw that nurses were no longer going to be considered a professional degree, and Bandit saw that nurses were no longer going to be considered a professional degree. But they are not the only ones affected by this, and we are going to talk about it. So before I really get into this video, I want to preface this by saying I do think that nurses are professionals. I think they are a professional degree. They should still be a professional degree, but we're going to go over what a professional degree is, who all is affected by this, and what this probably means in the grand scheme of things, because this is not just about nurses. They are not the only ones affected by this. I know everyone on the internet is acting like it's just them. It's not. They are not some special case. It's a lot of other degrees besides them, but we're going to start with nurses because they seem to be talked about the most. Check it out.
A proposal in the One Big Beautiful Bill may put loan caps for graduate students in a nursing program. Tonight, 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Miguel Octavio explains why some nursing associations are now disappointed.
Sandy Salico has been a nurse for more than 50 years. She says federal guidelines that don't include nursing as a professional degree feel like a step backward for the field.
I didn't go into nursing because I was going to be rich, but I certainly went in because I held at very high esteem and very high regard care of patients and their families.
Under the proposed rules, graduate students in a professional degree program could borrow up to $50,000 per year, but for students pursuing a non-professional degree, that would be capped at $20,500 a year. Opponents say that could make nursing harder to afford and affect already strapped staffing. The Department of Education says nursing has never been listed as a professional degree, though students can still borrow up to $100,000 total. Tonight, though, nursing associations are petitioning the government to reverse course.
Nurses don't give up the faith.
Salico has this to say for nurses feeling discouraged.
Those of us that are already nurses for many years will be behind you, and we will fight the fight.
In St. Pete, Miguel Octavio, 10 Tampa Bay News.
The list of qualifying professional degrees includes medicine, pharmacy, and law. The proposed changes are scheduled to take effect in July.
So there you go. Nurses are no longer considered a professional degree. I know the department says that they were never technically listed as a professional degree, but it's important to understand first what a professional degree is. A professional degree is a degree that typically leads to some type of licensure. So like nursing obviously is one of them for now. If you didn't know this, nurses didn't always need a license to be a nurse. Just that's like a little fun history fact, but they do now. Teaching is another one. That's also a professional degree that is no longer a professional degree. Audiology also will no longer be a professional degree. Physical therapist, no longer a professional degree. In fact, instead of going through the list of the degrees that will no longer be professional, just watch this clip of this video that this lady put out. She would go over before you go over the definition. They take out a very key section of the definition of what a professional degree is, and it does impact a lot of people.
So this is the original definition of a professional degree, which we were working with up until the proposed change. This is a screenshot from the summer when I made a video about that. Okay, so a professional degree requires both completion of the academic requirements for beginning practice in a given profession, and a level of professional skill beyond that normally required for a bachelor's degree. Professional licensure is also generally required. Examples of a professional degree include, but are not limited to, remember that language, are not limited to, pharmacy, dentistry, veterinary medicine, chiropractic, law, medicine, optometry, osteopathic medicine, podiatry, and theology. Under this definition, the majority of healthcare professionals getting master's degrees and doctorate degrees, like psychologists, speech and language pathologists, like CRNAs, like nurse practitioners, nurse midwives, and so on, we would all fall under this category, and we should be able to access that higher federal loan limit, which is essential because these degrees are very expensive and required to enter practice. And we need the fair federal loan system in order to make it accessible. This is the proposed definition change that came out in October. It is not a law. It is not a bill. It has not been locked in yet. And this is what's going to hurt healthcare professionals that require master's degrees and doctorate degrees. So the new definition proposed of a professional student, a student enrolled in a program of study that awards a professional degree upon completion of the program. A professional degree is a degree that signifies both completion of the academic requirements. A professional degree is a degree that signifies both completion of the academic requirements for beginning practice in a given profession and a level of professional skill beyond that normally required for a bachelor's degree, where professional licensure is also generally required. And here's the language change that is so scary. The next part of the sentence reads, and includes the following degrees. They took out the phrase, but is not limited to, and includes the following degrees: pharmacy, dentistry, veterinary medicine, chiropractic, law, medicine, optometry, osteopathic medicine, podiatry, or theology. So now, instead of anyone who required a master's degree or doctorate degree to enter practice, that, otherwise would have met the definition of professional degree, and they have some other qualifiers below it that describe the nature of a professional degree, nobody else counts except for these 10 professions.
So again, your friendly neighborhood English teacher here to tell you this is why it's important to pay attention in class. Remember when you asked, why do I need to know this? This is why you need to know close reading and be good at comprehension, because they changed those few words where you used to say, but not limited to, means that these are just a few of the professions. This could encompass anybody. Now it's an and, one conjunction. And that means, in addition to all these previous requirements, the degree field must be in this list of fields approved by the Department of Education. Y'all, did you notice that theology is listed in there? Theology, a theologist, a degree in theology is now considered a professional degree, but teaching and education, nope. Nursing, anything related to nursing, nope. Physical therapy, nope. But theology, we definitely need some more of that. That is such a basket weaving degree. You know what? Let's move on. So you saw that list correctly. They're changing to pretty much take out all these other degrees. Now, what does that mean for the rest of us? This is going to impact a lot of people. So in that first clip, they talked about how it's going to impact people being in the nursing program because they won't be able to afford it. But that's just not nursing. That's what I mean by nurses are not special. They're not some community where they're just being targeted only, and that's it. Applies to a lot of us. So if you don't want to be a nurse and you're like, well, I don't really care. If you want to do anything else besides those professions that are listed, your loan borrowing capability is going to be capped. Now, some people say that this is a good idea. To an extent, I don't necessarily mind a loan cap, but the only reason a loan cap is an issue is because people take out loans willy-nilly without understanding what a loan is. They don't understand how to pay one back. They don't understand the interest rate. They don't understand how much of an overpayment they're going to make. They don't understand making the overpayment to their principal. And then on top of that, the career field we all want to go to, for me, I want to go into education. I loved education. I still do. But I didn't go into it to be rich. That woman who was on the nursing video, she didn't go into nursing to be rich. She did it because that was something she really was passionate about and she wanted to do. The problem, though, is that our salaries are not keeping up with inflation. They're not keeping up with these prices to go to college. Tuition is going up and room and board is going up. All those things on campus are going up. But then something else that goes up is the cost of your materials. For sure, as an English major for education, there's no way I paid the most for my materials. I distinctly remember going into classes and for a semester, I might have paid $200 because I was going to be an English teacher. Most of my materials were novels and I didn't buy the novels at the bookstore on campus. I went to half price books and bought them there. Instead of paying $20 for a brand new novel, I paid $7 for a used one, and then we had Facebook where we could trade books and things like that. But the difference between what I did versus a science degree, my brother was a chemical engineer. One of his books could be $600-$700. One book for one class could be $600-$700. And that was back in the early 2000s. Well, late 2000s, I guess. That was back in the 2000s. So I'm sure that those prices have gone up since then. I know prices of novels have gone up since then. I buy them all the time. And instead of paying like $12 for a novel, I'm now paying like almost 20 for one. So if a novel has gone up in price, I definitely know a textbook has. So when you factor all of that in with the fact that they are capping loans on how much you can take out, you'll notice that they're not doing anything else with loans, right? They're not talking about interest rates. They're not talking about providing different types of loans for you to take out to do what you want to do or go to college. They're not talking about any ways to make it fiscally possible for us to go to college. And by us, I mean American citizens in general. They just want to make sure you can't take out anymore because no one's paying them back. So once again, we are seeing an example of this country not solving the problem, but putting a Band-Aid on it. They don't want to change how much they get back in repayment through their interest rates. No, they're just going to say, well, if you can't afford it, you can't take out more than these loans. But we're not going to change our ways. We're clearly not the problem. It's you because you had a dream to be a nurse. You had a dream to be a teacher. You had a dream to be an audiologist. You had a dream to be an accountant, which, by the way, accounting is on there as well. Accountants are no longer a professional degree. This is the finance degree. No longer professional, which means that there's going to be a cap on it. They don't want to talk about how inflation affects colleges. And people ask, well, why don't colleges lower the tuition? Because professors are paid through your tuition. Upkeep of your university is through your tuition. All those things that you see on campus are through your tuition. And with inflation going up, how can you reasonably expect them to lower prices? At this point, the answer is going to be that we're just all going to have to go to online school. And there's nothing wrong with that. Both of my master's degrees I got online. I went to Western Governors University. I got them both online. And I paid, I think in total, I paid less than $10,000 for both of my master's degrees. And a lot of people hear, oh, well, you went online. For some reason, there's a stigma that if you do school online, it's not the same thing, which isn't true. I learned a lot through my university. I learned enough that my employers are satisfied with me. I learned enough that I get a job. I learned enough that I was able to switch fields. I learned enough that I was an administrator for education. There's nothing wrong with an online degree. And we're probably going to have to start doing that because it's just going to be cheaper to do it that way. Because this is not a target on nurses. And I saw online as well, someone said that, and this was a friend of mine, said that this is a target on women. I don't really even think it's that. I think it might be that to an extent because a lot of degrees that were technically listed were female dominated. But I think it goes deeper than that. This is more of a way to make sure the middle class stays the middle class. And those who don't belong in the middle class go into the lower class, lower middle class. By making college less reachable and less attainable. That's really where the issue is. This is not about nursing. I know people are only talking about nursing. Well, how are you supposed to become a nurse? How are you supposed to do anything that's not those 10 degrees that were listed that are now the only professional ones that you take out loans for? But by the way, even some of those degrees, once you graduate, how are you supposed to pay back the loans? Like doctors take out a ton of loans to do what they do. And a lot of doctors can't pay their student loans now, not because of how much they took out, because the interest rate is just eating everybody alive right now. It's the interest rate. There's two different types. You have unsubsidized and subsidized loans. And I believe when you go to grad school, you can only take out subsidized. And I believe, I might be wrong. If I am wrong, I'll correct this in the comments. But one of them, I believe, is unsubsidized. I believe that's the one where interest does not accrue while you're in school. It starts when you start paying back. Subsidized is you start accruing interest while you're in school. And the interest continues to accrue. And then you get 6 month deferment to start paying. And then once that 6 month deferment after you graduate is over, you get to start paying because there's an assumption you'll have a job by then, right? Well, has anyone checked out this job market lately? Who is getting a job in 6 months? There are people on Reddit that are talking right now. Like, I just answered one of the questions on there. Someone asked a question a couple days ago, how long have you been unemployed? There are people talking about a year, 2 years. They keep redoing their resumes. They go back to school. Their degrees are not getting them anywhere. And you have people on there also saying, well, I'm a plumber. I make a ton of money. I don't have to go to school. Yeah, but a lot of y'all are unemployed too. Unemployment is hitting every field. It's not just people with degrees. So when you do all of this, this is a recipe for disaster. The job market's terrible. You have professions that are now going to be harder to obtain because you capped the loan amount, but you didn't lower the interest rate, right? But at the same time, you want everyone to be professionals and you want us to be great and you want us to succeed and you sell us this dream, but you put up so many roadblocks that the average American just can't do it. And I don't understand why. What is this about? That's all I have to say about it. I know this video was kind of quick, but leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you in my next video.